Good afternoon, Your Honor. On behalf of all clients today, unless otherwise stated, Willie Chotzen, C-H-O-T-Z-E-N, bar number 196444.
In Multnomah County Arraignment Court, a half dozen defendants are hearing the charges against them for the first time. None have lawyers, even though they all have a right to one. Willie Chotzen, a public defender, is trying to get their cases dismissed.
This is the arraignment of Mr. Hodges, who's present in custody. He has a constitutional right to an attorney, and he would like to exercise that constitutional right to an attorney. Unfortunately, due to the public defender shortage, my understanding is that no attorney is available to be appointed to Mr. Hodges. Based on the fact that no attorney is available to be appointed to Mr. Hodges, we are asking for a dismissal of this case.
All right, so at this point, I'm going to deny the motion. There is not yet actual prejudice.
So page 16, line 4, Dennis Doss, there are no holds.
Doss. Mr. Doss would like an attorney, and no attorney is available. We are moving for a dismissal of his case.
All right.
We are moving to dismiss Mr. Keemolin's case because of the ongoing constitutional violations. Your Honor, Mr. DeLong is asking for court-appointed counsel. My understanding is the state does not have any attorneys available to take this case at this time.
The Sixth Amendment promises that anyone caught up in the American legal system can get a defense attorney. But right now, there's a huge shortage of public defenders, the lawyers who are assigned cases by the court. It's a constitutional crisis hitting nearly every state, but Oregon is in a particularly bad way. It has only 31% of the public defenders it needs.
The right to counsel has been called by a Supreme Court case, the most fundamental constitutional right in the entire Constitution. Because we have all these other rights, right? The right to privacy, our Miranda rights, those don't get enforced without a defense lawyer to help enforce them on someone's behalf. And so what public defenders are doing is protecting the Constitution, protecting innocent until proven guilty.
What's the real life harm? How does it impact them not having an attorney?
I've had clients lose housing. I've had clients lose jobs. I've had clients lose, access to their children, the ability to go back to their home because of a pending criminal case, a case that legally they're still innocent of.
Why do people need an attorney at this juncture?
The core of it is when you have a pending criminal case, you have liberty restrictions. And there's no attorney who can coordinate their release, who can come up with a release plan. In many cases, indent pleas. Sometimes we're building mitigation. Sometimes we're just putting services in place. But sometimes we're building a real defense at trial. And when I'm the attorney, I'm able to talk to the victims. I'm able to talk to the witnesses. I'm able to collect evidence.
Public defenders are famously underpaid and overworked. But in Oregon, decades of underfunding and a growing backlog of cases during the pandemic have effectively ground the system to a halt. Public defenders here say they simply can't take on any more cases. One 2022 study found that with the number of public defenders working now, each one would have to work 26 hours a day, 5 days a week to keep up with the current caseload.
Please be seated. Welcome, counsel.
Defendants who don't have representation will find themselves locked up for longer than people with attorneys.
The judge told me that I could be in here for months more without an attorney.
Why is that?
Well, it beats me. They've got a constitutional right to a speedy trial.
I know what they're gonna say. We'll push your case back 4 months, 5 months. I already know what they're gonna say, so it hurts. I'm just preparing myself for the pain, for the disappointment.
How many times have you appeared in court without an attorney?
Once in person and 2 on video court. I'm now indigent. I have no money because I've been locked up. I've been deprived of, even let me work release or something. But no, they ankle monitor and just, those are things that an attorney would help me figure out. But that hasn't happened.
Are you angry?
Oh, dude, I'm pissed.
Some judges have responded to the mess by, quote, dismissing cases without prejudice, meaning that the person is free to go, but the state can refile those charges at any time. Other judges have threatened to hold public defenders in contempt for failing to represent defendants. Judge Cheryl Albright is the chief criminal judge for Multnomah County Circuit Court. For about 9 years, she also served as a public defender in the same jurisdiction.
How long is it appropriate for someone to be in custody without an attorney?
I don't think any time is appropriate. People are working to try to get attorneys for people as much as possible.
Why aren't judges just dismissing these cases if the constitutional rights of these defendants are not being respected?
Mass dismissals without having factual findings made, we can't do that. We can't just take one side and dismiss things. We have to hear arguments. That's what we do. We hear from both sides.
Is it shocking to you that we're in this situation?
Oh, I've cried.
If there's one thing that needs to happen right away to help address this crisis, what is it?
Our public defenders need to increase their capacity to be able to take cases.
So they need to work harder.
They need to get some of the cases that have been pending for a long time resolved, which is what their job is.
This is a job where putting in the extra work is not enough to get you there. You're never going to get to inbox zero or your to-do list down to zero.
What's the answer? What's the fix?
It has to come down to more funding and more money. We need more attorneys. We need more pay for public defenders who are doing the work. So it's hard to attract top talent when you're working just as hard, if not harder, than the person across the aisle, and yet you're making sometimes half, sometimes in cases a third of what the prosecutor on the other side is making. It's demotivating. It feels like your work is being slighted or your work is being underappreciated. But the work that public defenders are doing is essential work, and we need to pay it like it's essential work.
In June, the state government allocated an extra $100 million to the budget for the Office of Public Defense. But that office has said that money will only allow them to maintain their current levels of service. State Senator Floyd Przansky and State Representative Paul Evans are the two co-chairs of a new working group on public defense reform.
We recognize it's going to take a little more money to do, so what we're trying to do is measure twice or three times and cut once. But we have to make sure that we do this right so we don't just throw money at it, or worse, put people with counsel that is not up to the job and they end up in jail because we forced a bad issue. We're talking about people's lives here. We have to get it right.
What I'm not hearing, with all due respect, is a timeline.
So here's the timeline, right? So our next opportunity to bring something before the legislature is January of next year, so 2023. So that legislation, I expect you'll see some of it, if not all of it, in January 2024.
But what I'm hearing is it could be years.
Long term, the structure and system we hope to get to, yes, it may take years. To the folks who are currently awaiting assistance, it doesn't take legislation to actually resolve some of those issues. If some of these counties that are most affected actually wanted to help as well, they have resources too that they could actually add to the pot. We're also trying to convince folks that there are some creative short-term things that they could do if they wanted to. There are National Guard lawyers that could be used. There are law students in clinics that could be maximized. We're trying to make sure that those ideas are vetted.
And I'm assuming the public defenders that you spoke with told you about how much time they spend on non-lawyer stuff with their clients. Some of them report 30 to 40% of their day is doing case management, helping the individuals find a place to stay, finding food, finding all their basic needs. So if you can actually take that off the plate of the attorney, and having case managers in the offices will be able to allow the people who are trained and educated to provide legal services to do that.
But these ideas are little comfort to people who are sitting in jail right now, with no word on when they might get an attorney.
In 2021, I was in here and I fell to depression and I tried to commit suicide. And I was sentenced to the state hospital. I came back in here. Every day it's a struggle for me to keep myself balanced.
What are you losing by having your case pushed and pushed without an attorney?
Every day I'm in here, I lose my family. I lose a chance to go out there and actually be better instead of be bitter.
So you've been in here 6 months.
6 months.
You have no attorney.
No attorney.
You can't see your kids.
No.
And you can't work.
And I can't work, no.
And you don't know when you're going to get an attorney.
I have no idea.
What does it feel like?
Doom, despair, no hope of getting out.
Do you feel like your constitutional rights are being violated by not having an attorney?
What constitutional rights, man? This is Washington County. They don't exist.
You know, our ethics require us to communicate diligently with every single client that we have. Investigate our cases, file motions, do the legal research that's required. And it got to the point where the caseloads were way too high to be able to do that on every single case.
Carl McPherson, Willie Choatson's boss, runs Metropolitan Public Defenders, the state's largest public defender's office. what do you say to the judges who are trying to hold public defenders in contempt for not representing defendants?
Yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, Oregon's situation is a complete failure by all three branches of government. You know, when you intentionally underfund and don't prioritize public defense, and you don't prioritize our clients, who are some of the most marginalized people in the state. You know, 80 to 90% of the people that the state charges in Oregon need public defense services. So who are we charging? We're charging people with crimes that are poor, people of color, people with substance abuse issues, mental health issues, houselessness. That's who we're choosing as a state to prosecute.
I mean, right now, do you think that the state legislature is taking this seriously enough that it's urgent in their eyes?
No. My understanding is the last session that Oregon had a surplus of about $2.6 billion. This issue with unrepresented people has been going on for over a year. So the simple math tells you that they're not taking it seriously enough.
I'm Michael Learmonth, editor-in-chief of Vice News. Too often, traditional news outlets shy away from the real stories and experiences of those living through global conflicts. Not Vice News. Our reporters are on the ground, fearlessly covering the human stories that shape our world. You and millions of others can continue to read, watch, and listen to Vice News for free. But we hope you'll consider making a one-time or ongoing contribution of any size at vice.com/contribute. Every contribution, no matter how big or small, helps support the journalism Vice News brings to you every day. Thank you.